Does it say we're live? It says we're
Looks
live.
like it.
Meeting is now streaming live. All right, what's up, guys? Hey, we are live on Facebook with my business partners in Little Legacy Library and our amazingly talented illustrators in the Little Legacy Library. Kevin Jackson, Derek Brennan, and then you got Kate Bratz, who kind of fell off the wagon with getting dressed and makeup and all that stuff. Erin at least still put on her makeup.
Authenticity here.
Erin still put on her makeup, but she's wearing a bunch of workout clothes. So it's really just like here up that she is still on board. And I know she's falling off the wagon quick too. Video number 3, she's not going to have makeup on, I promise you.
I didn't realize these were going to be like a roast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what I was getting
I'm like,
into
oh
this
man, what's he going to say
morning.
about me?
Yeah.
Kate,
So let me introduce you to my friend Derek Brennan. Oh, good. What's up?
I said Kate
Say,
doesn't
Erin?
need any of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
You guys are so nice.
well.
I'm not wearing makeup either,
I
Erin.
only want
Yeah.
What about me?
That's obvious.
Me.
It helped.
to myself together.
Just kidding.
It's fine.
All right. So we're here with our illustrators. We want to talk to you guys about how to illustrate a kid's book. So if you guys haven't already hopped on littlelegacylibrary.com, we have these awesome books for kids that are based on a lot of the classical personal development books. So the first one is based off of Think and Grow Rich, and it's all about goal setting, and it's all about obsessing over a goal and making sure you achieve that goal, and you have to overcome struggles and overcome hurdles and overcome obstacles and sacrifice some things that you really do care about in order to get what you really, really care about. And so it's a really amazing book. My amazing wife and my amazing friend Erin wrote it, and then our amazing illustrators obviously drew the pictures. So I want to introduce you guys to them and hear about their story, how they got started in illustrating or art, I guess, altogether, and all the different kind of cool, crazy stuff that they do, and how this is the first kids book that they've ever done, which is wild because they've done such an amazing job. So Kevin Jackson out of Atlanta, what's going on, dude?
What's up? How's it going?
Yeah, man, appreciate you being here.
Of course, no problem.
Yeah. And Derek Brennan out of Cleveland.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's going
Happy
on?
to be here.
So real quick, I'll introduce how we got to meet, and then I want to hear a little bit about each of your guys' story. So I live in Cleveland, right? And our house is in like one of the southern suburbs, and my office is in the first suburb west of Cleveland. So I was driving to work one day, or to the office one day, and I stop at, it was on Warren and Detroit, and there's this mural there in Lakewood, Ohio. And I look over, I'm sitting at a red light. I was like, oh, I like the colors, and I like how it all pops and all this stuff. And I know nothing about art, right? But I'm like, it's visually appealing, so this guy must be pretty good. And so I took a picture of it, and my brother lives in this community in Lakewood, and he knows a bunch of people. And I said, hey man, do you know who the illustrator was of this art mural? And he's like, oh yeah, I think that was Derek Brennan and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, do you know him? He's like, yeah, I can probably connect you guys. And so somehow like my brother connected us. We got an email together, right? It was Troy, right? So we got an email together, and I was like, hey man, here's the story. Here's what we're doing. We want to just write some kids books, and I'm looking for an illustrator and would love to have somebody local to Cleveland illustrate these books. And I don't know, must have said some good influential things, because Derek was on board from the get-go. And but it's yeah. Uh-oh.
So the mural was of that Tim saw was of children. I think they were like sailors. He sent us the picture originally, and we were like, this guy is so crazy talented. If we could snatch him up, that would be amazing. And it was just crazy how it worked out. So a little context, like Kate and I were in the process of finding an illustrator at the time, and we don't, again, first time we've ever know exactly what we're doing. There's a lot of like websites you can go to find illustrators, editors, all the things book related, and you can find and have illustrators that way. And so Kate and I were thinking about that. Another approach that we had taken was we were just found all the children's books that we loved, the illustrations, and we would reach out to the illustrators directly. But what we were really, I would say, really, really early in the process when Tim sent that mural over, the picture of the mural, and again, we were like, oh my gosh, this guy is crazy talented. If this could work out, that'd be awesome. And it's really cool that it did.
Yeah. So, sorry, the kids came up and interrupted. There's always crying and screaming and slapping and yelling and stuff. So, no, so it was very serendipitous, right? I drive up, I see a mural, we take a picture of it. I send it to the girls. They're like, yeah, absolutely, reach out to them. I get introduced through my brother to Derek, and then we get on a phone call. So, Derek, tell us about your background, and then how Kev got looped into the whole partnership as well, and then let's dive into like how to write, how to illustrate the kids' books and kind of what that process was like. It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you guys. That was really nice. I'm so glad that you found me through the Lakewood mural, because I really like. I lived in Lakewood for a couple of years, and I just had such a great connection to that area. I just loved all the families that were in it, and so I really wanted that mural to kind of be about like the kind of childhood wonder, that kids have. And so these kids are basically they're reading a book, and then they're transported in their mind into like this scene that they're in. They're reading, and they're also in the book basically. But
they're out on Lake Erie, right?
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
There's Lake Erie. There's like this. Yeah, there's like this little monster out in Lake Erie. It looks kind of like
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little like fable tale. Kind of
it's really cool.
Yeah. So really, I got started doing art just as a kid. Probably like Kev. We were probably both drawers. Started out, but really, how it all started for me was in high school. I worked at an amusement park called Cedar Point, and I did caricatures there. So I was doing caricatures there for the summers, and there I feel even more than going to college, I really learned to pick things up quickly. Like doing a caricature of a person, you have like 5 minutes to draw someone's face. And you have to use a marker that you haven't used before, and then you're also trying to translate someone's face into a cartoon. So you really get to pick that up real quick. Like that's you need to like make sales, and there's all the other pressure from being a worker at Cedar Point. So as a high school artist, I felt like I was thrown into it real quick. Did that for about 8 years. I was doing it during the summers, even when I was going through college. And when I went to college, I studied fine art, painting and drawing. And that's where, I kind of did some digital work. I did a lot of painting. So I do a lot of different things, if you hadn't noticed. So this is be my first children's book, but I do a lot of other paintings. Like I do encaustic painting, which is painting with beeswax, like digital caricature still. I do quite a lot of different art, murals, but really Kev and I kind of got together. Was my 4th year as a caricature artist. Kev came from Texas, right? Kev came up from Texas to work at Cedar Point for the summer, and that's where we basically
working for.
Yeah, the company we were working for. So he was there just for one summer, and that's where we kind of became like best friends during that time, and that's where it all happened. So then every year between we see each other once a year now, basically, and it's usually at a international caricature convention. So every year it's somewhere different, like it'll be in Vegas or it'll be in California or wherever. But it's this international caricature convention where we get to hang out, draw with each other for like a week straight, and just catch up. So we've been friends for a long time doing that. But really, when I first got this opportunity to do the children's book, I was like, oh man, I would really love to be a part of it. But I'm like, in my back of my head, I'm thinking like Kev would be the best for the characters and doing the character design. He just has that kind of awesome cartoony style. And I'm like, oh man, we've been wanting to work on a project together for the longest time. And we've talked about it. We've come up with ideas that were like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. Nothing happened. And it was like a constant thing. And we come up with new ideas of how we're going to work together on something. But this project here is what finally made it happen.
Right. Bringing friends and families together,
Yes,
right?
look at you.
Since 2018, 19, whenever we started these things. Good stuff.
Only a couple years doing that, yeah.
Yeah. So Kev, you're out of Atlanta now though, right?
Yes, yeah.
And so are you from Atlanta originally or Texas originally?
I'm from San Antonio, Texas. That's where I was
cool, man.
born and raised and lived most of my life. I didn't get to Atlanta until college, and now I live here. But yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry, guys.
So when you got a phone call from Derek about, hey, this psycho called me up and wants to do some kids books, what did he say, and like how did the conversation go?
So it was
we were
actually
together actually.
Yeah, it was in person. I was actually so usually once a year, if it's not at the caricature convention, we'll visit each other. Like I'll go to Ohio, or him and his wife will come to Atlanta. And so I was in Ohio actually at his house for the weekend, and that was when he brought it up. And he kind of subtly mentioned it at first. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. But I didn't know if he was like serious or if it was like a legit thing, you know. It happens all the time where like
Very illegitimate, actually.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Especially with artists, it happens all the time where it's like, oh, there's this thing, oh, never mind. Oh, there's this thing, oh, never mind. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And then, you know, I remember throughout the day, he kept bringing it up. And I was like, yeah, like that sounds awesome. And then I realized, you know, after like the fourth time he brought it up that, oh, it's like a legit thing. And I was like, yeah, I'm down if we can, if they're cool with having me on, you know, then yeah, for sure. So basically it was Derek would do all the backgrounds, illustrating the backgrounds, and I would do all the character design. And that's how that day went. And it was really like an easy decision. It was like, yeah, of course, it sounds.
Did you guys ever think that you wanted to write kids books?
We never really had an idea of writing kids books. So I work for Carter's Inc., the children's clothing company. So I naturally do children's graphics, like shirt graphics. But in terms of a children's book, I never really thought of that. I took a course on it in college, and it was really fun. But the writing part is the thing that I wouldn't have thought that I'd be able to do. So that's probably why. Yeah.
No, it's cool. It's cool that, you know, the girls have their expertise, you guys have your expertise.
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing on the marketing and that side of things. So it's cool. Like, we're all in our zone, right? And our genius zone. So let's dive into the books themselves. And so this is one of 2 books in print right now. We're actually delayed in not delayed, but like the printer has so many orders and stuff. He's like, it's going to take probably 5 or 6 weeks, or what do you say, 4 to 5 weeks to get everything printed and then shipped out. So if you did order books and you are watching this, please be patient with us, and thank you for working with us and this whole thing. But this is one of 2 printed books right now that we got a couple months ago. And this is actually, we made changes since then.
Looks sharp.
The original of the original.
Yeah.
The original.
There were a couple others. But you know what's like, here, let me pull up. You know what's crazy about this is that you guys, and I had no idea. I thought it was like old school Disney. You sit in front of a drawing board and draw characters, right? And then you guys are like, oh no, we got the digital, you know, versions, sketches ready. And I was like, what do you mean? And you guys sent them over. And I was like, oh my gosh, you did all this on your iPad, right? And so I didn't even realize that there's tools. Yeah, I didn't really even realize that there's tools to do that kind of stuff now. And it was like really, really fascinating to see that. So tell us about what does the process look like? You guys get our words, you know, like I know the girls, they sit down and they have their entire process on how to write the book, and then they break it down like a page by page basis of what they want to see kind of on each page. And then I assume you guys read that and then try to convey visually what they're conveying in the message, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Where does it start? Does it start with characters? Does it start with the setting? Like, talk to me.
Initially, I think it was good to get the characters kind of solidified, because I think Kev worked on that for a bit. I think even before I started, playing with how the scene was going to work, because I think it definitely helps for me to see who I'm working with to put into the scenes. So when I'm doing the storyboarding, I'm really trying to know what visually is going to complement the words that are going to be on the page, and what is there mystery that needs to be, when people flip the page, that there's an unveiling. That's other part of it too, that you're trying to really connect with like the kids that are going to be reading it. So it's really interesting, like putting yourself in like the perspective of kids reading the books too. But yeah, starts out for me just really, really rough sketches of like what I'm reading. Maybe that needs to be a 2-page spread. Maybe it just needs to be a 1-page spread. It just kind of depends on, how many words I'm working with and what's really the most important thing that I want to show in the drawing. And then basically when we get the storyboard all drawn up and it feels like it flows really nice, getting like a variation of, like, you don't want every single picture to just be of Ford. You want there to be, different perspectives, trying to capture like good lighting and things like that you don't think of. But
I definitely don't think of those things,
Yeah.
right? Like you guys.
Hey, that
Yeah.
is I think one of my favorite things about the illustrations, besides how cute and awesome the characters are that Kev has drawn up, the perspectives that of the scenes, Derek, that you draw up are, I mean, I don't see them in these types of illustrations in children's books today. So you are very talented when it comes to, drawing the different perspectives. And it's just so visually appealing going from page to page throughout the book.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I'm glad.
And I wanted to add real quick too. I think that we kind of skipped over a part where we come up with the story and we break it up into the pages, but Aaron and I now go, okay, let's wait and go send it to Derek and Kev, because you guys have had such great input on our stories. Guys, have you considered this? Oh, I don't know. Do you want to say it this way? Like, you guys really, you've done more than just illustrate it, take what we said and do it. You guys have honestly cared about it and, helped us along the way and made the story so much better, along with the addition of the amazing illustrations. So we appreciate you, because we're like, hold on, let's wait. Let's send it to Kevin.
Yeah, and it just goes with how talented you guys are, because we always have an illustration call. That's when the book is at the point where it's the story and it's broken up into pages. It's good enough where we can have an illustration call with and we can go through page by page. As we're writing these, obviously you have a vision in your mind of, almost like a play or a scene, how it's going to go. So you guys are so talented to the point where we go through page by page with you guys and explain, what we see for this scene. We don't know the lingo, artistry lingo. We don't know any of that stuff. And you guys come back with incredible,
we're like, hey, get this feeling of Ford and Morgan. We want it to sort of be like this, and this little high five, and then you add some other stuff. Like, we have an idea, and then yours usually every single time turn out much better.
So again, another kudos to you guys, because you're very easy to work with and you're fun to work with, and your talent is just amazing.
Okay, sorry, sidebar. There's way more than just illustrators.
And it's so many more levels, right? Like, I'm a very literal type person, I think. Like, here's what we want to convey. Here's the storyline, and here's a picture, right? It's him looking at his, or it's him sitting at his desk, right? And it's the end of the school year is over, and my vision is him sitting at his desk filing out, right? Where your vision is like an actual him sitting at his desk, and not just a kid sitting, not a stick figure sitting at a box desk, right? But it's actually like as if you're in it, you're looking down at your own watch, drawing, getting ready for your for the summertime, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, hey, we're there, boom, and then like vantage points and stuff like this of the big bully on his bike, and it's just there's a lot of different things that maybe like somebody in my mindset would be like, let's just convey it in the words and just write it up, but we don't need to, right? Because there's so many things, so much more that can be told by the actual illustrations, that it goes way like so many levels deeper than just the literal interpretation of it. So it's pretty interesting to see how that plays out,
how they all work together.
Yeah, for sure. And the vantage points and the lighting and all those things. You had something, Erin?
I have a question for you guys, and maybe Tim, maybe this is your next question, but just going through this whole process with us, obviously, going through book one was a learning for all of us. But having, illustrated book two and now book three, what are some of your favorite parts of the process? And then what are some of the biggest challenges without
it being us?
not being
Please don't throw us under the bus on our own 55.
I don't know
if Tim would only pay me
anything.
Artist wise, what are your favorite, and then what are some of the biggest challenges?
So I'll go first on that one. So I'll start with the challenges. Specifically for me and Derek, since we don't live in the same place, it's all sent, emailing back and forth, and he works on the backgrounds and I do the characters for each scene. The toughest part is probably, doing one without the other. It's a lot easier for me to put in the characters once I already have a background, but obviously we're both working at the same time. So sometimes I'll have to I have a good representation of what the background will be based on Derek's storyboard, but I'll have to just do the characters for that scene and wait on the background later. Sometimes it's a scene that's really background heavy, so I'll have to wait on that. But that's probably the toughest thing, but even that's not that bad. And
I think it's one of those things where your greatest weakness can also be your greatest strength, because I think I could totally see how that can be chicken or egg type idea of which one do we do first. But at the same time, I like that you guys are both coming up with your own ideas for each one of the pages. And I think it creates that much more strength to that page, because we can take the best of both, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
What's your favorite part?
Yeah, what's your favorite?
My favorite part is the most satisfying part is whenever I'm dropping, it's just kind of similar, but when I'm dropping a character into a finished background that Derek's done, and the scene is coming together. So it's not just his background, it's not just my character, it's the whole piece, and finishing that page. That's
this looks good. This looks good. Yeah. Awesome. Derek, how about you, man?
Yeah, my favorite part is when Kev does that, and I didn't see any of that process, and then he just sends me every single page completely finished, and I'm just looking at it oh, all these are awesome. Because I don't he gets to see it get to the finish point as he's working on it. I just send him off the backgrounds with that hopefully he figures it out, and make sure that they all work together real well. But even that, it's cool, when we get done, we still go through it again and okay, maybe we should tweak some more things, maybe we should change a little bit of this or that. So it's still a conversation even afterwards. But yeah, I'd say the hardest part, one of my other favorite parts is doing the storyboarding. I really enjoy trying to it feels like I got check mark. I got that page. I feel real happy about what the words are saying with what I'm visually showing. And I feel like there's no other way that it could be visually told when you feel oh, I got it. That's a good one. Yeah. It's a good feeling. But yeah, I do think
as you're talking about that, I'm looking at at like this page, right? When his phone's blowing up, he put out his flyers, and all of a sudden he's like the phone calls are piling up literally like in the picture, and you can
Yeah.
visually it's
Yeah.
it's done so well. It's really, really cool.
Kev actually did that entire page with the phones and everything. I didn't do anything on that page.
It's
That's
amazing.
a cool page. I like that.
Yeah.
I love it more and more every time I look at it. Like now that we're flipping through it again. I'm like,
So one of my favorite, I want to go like one of my favorite things, like there's we're very proud of these books. We love them. We think they're really, really cool. I think there's a lot of things that people don't realize are in the books if you don't hop on one of these Facebook lives or you don't know us or you're not like, but then you find these little, like Disney calls them Easter eggs, these little hidden things that are in the book, and so, like our characters are named after some of the titans of industry. So like you got Morgan named after JP Morgan, and up on her shirt there's a little piggy bank, right? And so you got Andrew who's named after Andrew Carnegie, who was a big steel magnate, and he started the steel business because he developed the St. Louis Bridge, right? And then Rocky was John D. Rockefeller out of that industry, so he's got like a little oil thing on his shirt. And then there's these Easter eggs in each one of the books, and like in the first book, Ford, right, he's the main character, and off of Henry Ford obviously, and he's like the Ford Model T is like the key thing for the Ford. By the way, did you guys see the new Ford Bronco that's coming out?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Looks kind of crazy, right?
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's it takes it's like a Wrangler-esque, and it's amazing that nobody's ever like come up with something that's like a Wrangler, right? Before. You can take the doors off, take the top off. It's pretty cool. Anyways, side note. But the Ford Model T was like the original vehicle. Like it's the only vehicle that was made for the masses and was in one tone. But like we have an Easter egg on every page. Like on this one, I'm gonna give it away. But over here on the wall, it's like every split you got to find the little hidden Ford Model T, and sometimes it's like actually hidden into the grass kind of a thing in a green whatever, and other times it's like up here, like I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's on the wall. You can see a little bit of the Ford Model T. And so I love that, like my kids are right at the age where they're getting into like these books. They're written for a little bit older than them, probably. Well, I mean, my daughter Penelope's 5, and I think they're probably 5 to 8 years old. But even though she's on the front end of this, 3, 4, 5 years old, it gives them something to interact with on every single page, which is really cool. And whether the principles really sit in, the key here is like sharing the information and them hearing it over and over and over again, and whether they're consciously getting the thought principles and the philosophies from the book, or they're just sitting here and looking for the fun, like it's still being ingrained in them, which is really cool. So
which it's cute. Penelope did ask me, so obviously we've read both books that are illustrated to her. She loves looking for the little hidden Easter eggs, and she goes, Mom, what's going to be the one in book 3? I can't wait. and I was like, well, I'll tell you. She goes, I know it's going to be good.
No, they love it. And then you got things like odes to Cleveland, so you got the Cleveland skyline over here.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Edison, who's the engineer next door, obviously off of Thomas Edison, he's got little, this was your guys' idea, but he's got little light bulbs on his pants, which is like super cool.
That was really fun.
Yeah. And it's funny, like coming up with the characters, because we're like, we want this to look like Mr. Feeney, right? That's what we see in our head, and you guys.
Feeney.
And all of our characters. Sorry, this is just
they just did so much in this one.
All of the characters in the book, obviously the main characters, Ford, Andrew, Rocky, Morgan, all are named after people. But every character in our book, almost every character, is named after somebody, some titan in the industry, some important, woman in women's history. And that's, I think, another cool thing about the books in general, is that we're not just, kind of coming up with names. We are trying to name them after important people that have meaning.
Yep. Influential people who did great things for the country, humanity, whatever it may be. So, all right. So let's get back to like the mechanics of illustrating. So We give you guys, a couple pages of PDF. Here's what we think for page 1, and we move the words around based on what you guys, give us
We end up
feedback on.
cutting, we actually cut up quite a bit sometimes because of the visuals. That you're right. You could tell the story better in the visual than we did in words. It wasn't necessary.
Mhm.
So it's a work in progress. as
So
it
you
goes.
guys come up with the storyboarding, then have an illustration call with the girls. Sometimes I'm on that, sometimes not. But you guys hop on an illustration call and you talk through each one of them. You guys go back to the storyboard and kind of make a little bit of tweaks, ideas. I love that there's so many different brains that are all contributing to this, because there's all these great ideas on every single page. And then what's the next step? So the next step is you guys just kind of finalize that, or
Well, yeah. Well, Kev usually has to create some more characters. I think that's one part of it too. And then from there, it's just Kev and I are a little bit on our own. We divvy up, make sure that, like on this page, I'm doing this work for the background. You're going to do this part for the foreground. Yes, because sometimes it's a blurry line between what's something I do and what's something Kev would do. Because
like if it's a table or chair, it's a little mid-ground, not just background. We have to figure out who's going to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we divvy that up, and then from there, I start knocking out what I have to do, and then I upload it to the cloud where Kev can grab it and put it, and put his characters inside it. And then also, it's not just so easy to just drop them in. Sometimes, he's got to create some shadows or, some ground for the character to stand in. So it's definitely, there's some finessing that has to happen to make sure that the characters and the backgrounds fit together and not feel so separate. But thankfully, we both use like very similar brushes and pencils for digital pencils, because it's all done digitally.
I know,
even
it's
though
crazy.
that the brushes look like a colored pencil or a gouache brush or something. So we've kind of figured out that we have this kind of almost colored pencil-y kind of feel to our work, so that they both, and also the color palette. And that's something that Kev came up with, a very awesome color palette that I use, and then he uses with some tweaks here and there. But that also helps make sure that our colors just aren't completely different from each other. So in the final product, they all mesh.
Love it. So I think what I'm taking away from this interview today is like Kevin needs to quit his job and move up to Cleveland, Ohio. That's what I'm getting.
Funny you say that, because I've been telling him that for probably the last 5 years.
That's what I'm getting.
It's a great place.
So cool. Aaron, I loved your question before, and I'm trying to think of like questions off that. So like, what's your guys' favorite book so far? You've done 3 of them. Is one of them, did you enjoy drawing one of them from an illustrative perspective? Did you enjoy drawing one of them, or was there more like tweaks and fun stuff that came out of one of them over the other?
So far for me, it's been, book 2 was a lot of fun to draw. Just book 1 was fun as well, but it was more of a learning process, like you said. So we had a little more experience coming into book 2.
Are you getting that same feeling? Oh, so just so everybody knows, book 2 is how to win class president and influence your peers.
I wasn't sure if the title was out, so I was.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. And then book 3 is power. What are we calling it? Power positivity.
Power of positive thoughts.
Power of positive thoughts. So are you having as much excitement, or do you like book 3 just as much, or do you think it was more because of book 2? I love the illustrations in book 2. There's a lot of cool like scenes that occurred in book 2 that are not as common in like book 1 or book 3 even,
So looking at the storyboard for book 3, I'm already excited, because it's every book is different in like the setting and outside, inside, school, gym, home. And so book three's looks is already looking really good based on like this Derek storyboard. So it's gonna be
there's a lot. We're trying to vary it. We don't want it just to happen in school and at the kid's house all the time. So we're trying to think of it from our perspective of like, how do we mix it up? How do we go and have a scene in the gym, or have a scene at the park, or have a scene in the neighborhood, or have a scene at a different neighborhood, or at the hospital? And like, so I don't want to give away too much from the future books. There's different vantage points. So it's we're trying to think of it from your perspective too, and then when you guys give us feedback on the storyline and everything, it really works with what we've done so far. So it's pretty cool.
I want to say that's again, book one, labor of love, learning curve for everyone. But
it came out amazing.
It did. And then moving into book two, I feel like we've been able to jump into the issues that we, just fumbled through in book one. Aaron and I are thinking ahead because of illustrations and in the writing or in the page setup, or, we need to add an illustration. Okay, because the pages aren't going to line up right. Let's add an illustration. I just think it flowed so much more easily, book two, book three, and all the rest to come, because we are all thinking about each other's parts now, and we understand kind of what's all going on, instead of just obviously doing it the first time. So yay.
So guys, I have a question for you. Just because obviously our mission is so important to us. We want to instill these success principles in kids, and just make them feel motivated and that they can follow their dreams and reach their goals. So like for you guys, you're artists, right? So I'm assuming this was your dream. This is what you wanted to do in life. This is what hopefully this is what you're doing. So like, what advice would you give a kid, who wants to be an artist, or wants to follow their dreams? What kind of advice would you give them, having done it yourselves?
Well, for me, I know everyone always says, you're talented, but I feel like I've worked really hard at it too. Like, so I think there's so many people that are so talented, like even other artists that I see like so much potential in, but they need to work at it. So I think it's nurturing if you love it, really go all in on it and make it happen. You have to figure out a way to make it happen. So
I think I 100% agree with that. Like you might be talented or have like the base knowledge or the base visuals or mechanics or whatever, like, and maybe that comes a little bit more naturally, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to practice, right? Like LeBron James goes to the gym every single day and practices and they call him talented. Well, it's because he practiced more than anybody else, and then it comes naturally, so it seems like a natural talent versus something that can be trained and stuff. So no, I think that's a great point.
With being an artist, doing it so often, if you love it, but it doesn't feel like work. So you are practicing, but it's you doing what you love, and it's not like, frustrating or constantly, laboring. It's doing what you love.
No, I love it, man.
That's
so,
awesome.
did they see book number 4 yet? Or am I the bottleneck here?
You're the
you have to finish reviewing book 4.
Let's put that out. All right.
Now it's out in the world, so
I'm gonna tease.
That one's gonna be cool
my
too.
Favorite so far.
I
Book
agree.
4 is my favorite
I
thus
agree.
far. So I'm excited to get that process rolling.
It'll be even cooler once we see the illustrations.
Yeah.
I love it.
I want to see Ford go camping. I want to be in the woods
Okay.
and draw a camper. I really want to.
All right.
Yes. Like it.
All right, for book 5, as we start to brainstorm, let's see if we can work that in there.
I like it.
Well, we did talk about that. We're like, hey, we need it like out in nature, right?
Yeah.
And
That would
doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's good. So, cool. So any closing thoughts, any parting wisdoms? Aaron, that was a great question, by the way.
Yeah. I don't really have anything more. I mean, I just really love this whole process. It's become, so fun to kind of work with all of you. It's been really cool. I mean, I know Kevin and I are just really, really thankful that we have the opportunity to work together on something. And then we also get to, work with you guys on making these books as good as, as possible. I mean, we're equally as invested now too. You have your vision for the books, and we have visions too, but now they've become, a joint kind of vision now. Especially now that we have the main characters, everyone in the first book out there, we know what the future is going to kind of look like for at least, for the next books a little bit. So I think our vision's more aligned now. So I think it's exciting.
No, I love it. And we're working on other stuff too, right? So it's not just the books. Like we have the coloring books that are coming out, the puzzle books, and some of that you guys are helping us with as well. And Kevin, I don't know if you have like a non-compete or anything, but we might be designing some T-shirts as well. I don't know.
I might. I'll have to check with Carter.
Oh man,
you guys, I do have to let on a shameless plug, because you guys are so talented and you have all your products and all of your designs and your artistry is on your website. So it's derek-brennan.com and it's kevjax.com. So go to their websites. They have incredible talent.
Yeah, I want you guys to do some murals for me. I just can't take you away from this project yet. So we have more work for you, believe me.
All right, that's great.
No, it's gonna be good. So Kevin, how about you, man? Any closing thoughts or excited about the books, or tell me what's going through your head?
Definitely excited. And just to kind of piggyback what Derek was saying, I mean, we really are thankful for this whole opportunity, and also for you guys. It's not always easy to work with clients as an artist. It just depends on, how it meshes. And you guys are great to work with, and so accommodating and understanding of the process. And I just want to make sure you guys know that it's not always this, it doesn't always go this well as an artist.
No.
Yeah. I mean,
because
we don't want to step on any toes, right? Like we're like these guys, like we love their artwork, we want it in our books. So like, how do we make sure that they're happy and they get what they need, and we're kind of on their timeline and giving them good feedback quickly. And so that's something that's really, really important for us.
Yeah,
we're happy.
You guys as well.
Aaron, any other closing thoughts? Kate, any other closing thoughts?
No,
you go ahead.
Yeah, just excited for everyone to see book 2 and book 3 that's being illustrated right now, and then many more to come. So I think you guys, not only do these books have great messages for our children, but again, the artistry in the books is incredible. So if not for the pictures.
Yeah, the inspiration of the photos for sure.
Yeah. I'm piggyback everybody. I mean, this was amazing to learn about. I mean, I'm not artistic, so the process, the Derek moving things around, deleting at it, like just showing us how he does the work is like mind blowing. They're beautiful. They totally complete the book.
Yeah.
I mean, but the book's coming too. I mean, it is just ties it up in a bow. And they're just so cute, and I'm just so proud of them too. So
I think this is one of my
thankful that, I mean, and your ideas that you add to it.
Yeah, there's always like a page like this at the end that conveys the overall message of the book. So that's a cool one.
That might be one of my favorite. Like, I really like that idea of like the words kind of mowed out into the grass.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome, and I think book number 2 looks awesome too. Like for what that one is. I love this one. I think there's some really, really cool stuff in here. So now, awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys and appreciate all the hard work that you've been, and I appreciate you dealing with us, and our incompetencies in this whole process. And fortunately, book 1 took us about a year to write. Book 2 only about 6 months, right? Book 3, I think we're gonna slam out in 3 months, and then books 4 and 5 we're gonna be done in it's going to be like a 60-day process.
They're starting to
So
sweat. They're starting to sweat.
now I got these insane timelines that I've set for everybody to put constraints to get these books out, and everybody's rising to the occasion. It's amazing.
Oh.
It'll work out. We'll get it done.
No, I'm excited. The idea is to have a whole book series, 5 books by the end of or by Thanksgiving time frame, so that way they're available for Christmas and gift giving and all that stuff. So we're we appreciate you guys, appreciate all the hard work. Thanks for all the insights.
Yeah.
And that there he is. Tell him I said hello, and I have some cupcakes for him, right? That's an inside joke. So no, appreciate you guys, and thank you for everything that you guys do, and excited to continue the process and keep things rocking and rolling. So have an amazing weekend. Book 1 officially launches tomorrow, so it's going to be available, but it's still on kind of like pre-order kind of a thing, because they'll get shipped out probably right around mid August. And which is actually right thereafter is when we're releasing book number 2, is like a week after that, 2 weeks after that. So
This is perfect timing because it just started to rain.
Oh, no.
No, you have to stay out there. I have some more to say. I have some more to say.
I'm like, all right, bye.
good stuff, guys. Well, appreciate you guys. Have an
right.
awesome week. Excited to work with you.
Thanks, guys.
And thanks for all that you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
Later.
Bye.